if you notice, I say lock in, right? Some people want to do this, and this is actually the most common thing. If people aren't trained, they're not going to know about this locking in thing. So, you're off the hook now. I can come and choke me. What? So, damn it. Let's say he does it without the, okay, you're going to do it on that side? Okay. Let's say he does it where he grabs his wrist with his hand. In other words, he's not locking in. All right? So, the first thing I want to do when someone chokes me, so I'm just trying to think of the camera, is do Tai Chi. Right? Which is bend your knees and sink. Right? It's the first thing you do in Tai Chi. Because if I'm standing up here, it's easy for him to pull me backwards, it's easy for me to pull me off balance. I want to sink. As I do that, I'm going to just get my fingers in front of my throat. Whether it's, this one, the really dangerous one, right? Especially that one, or it's the nutcracker one, right? So here, he can now pull with that hand as much as he wants, and he's not going to be choking me, right? The fact that I'm talking to you is that he's not choking me, right? Now, some people will tell you to turn into the body, but then you'll end up in a headlock. What I want to do is pivot and turn away from him, right? So he's holding me with your left arm, right? So I'm going to go to my left. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but when I do that, first I do my Tai Chi, I sink, right? I pull his hand away from my neck, and I turn. Can you see how I'm kind of locking his elbow? So now when I come out, for example, I might be able to get locked, right? But even if I don't, right, I could do Qie, right, which is, now, I've told you before, right? I go for a second, right? Most people in judo see the osotogari and they see what we call the big version, right? Because we have that version of Qie in Shuai Jiao, and we use it all the time. It's very, very effective. I have footage I can show you of my guys doing it in competitions. But when you're in close, there's also a short version of it, which is, I'm literally scraping his head. This is a little dangerous, which is probably why we don't do it a lot in competition. But if he was choking me, suddenly it became a much more serious thing. And this is something I can do where I don't have the opportunity to unbalance him, create my opening, and set up my large version of reaping sweep. So again, he gets that choke. So first thing I want to do whenever I feel anything is literally dig my fingers in. This is why you have to have strong fingers. This is why we do all these claws in Kung Fu. Right? It's not because we're clawing each other. It's power to do this. Do a little Tai Chi, sink down, sink your weight. But with your head up, right? Don't sink back because it'll pull you back here. Right? So now, turn again. I don't have a lot of room for a big Qie, a big reaping sweep. So I do the short one, which sometimes we call gua, which means literally calf scraping. And always hold the wrist. Right? Always hold the wrist. People wonder where arm bars and submission grappling came from. Came from this, right? I have here. Now, if I want to finish this in a way that he has an opportunity to tap out, or we can practice again for the rest of the week, I do an arm bar. But if it's combat, so think about when they step over for the arm bar, right? I'm not stepping over the arm bar. You understand what I'm doing, right? Without me stomping on Frank's head. Also, when I do this, see how he's on his side? I don't want him flat. I don't want him flat, rolling back. One, he can fight me, but two, go back to where we were, right? I pull you up like this. What is this? This is called his kidney. And if I'm wearing boots like I'm in the military or police, I'm taking the tip of my boot, you feel that, right? Into your kidney. So when I pull up an arm bar and submission grappling, I can do that all day and put you in an arm lock, right? We step over your head and put you in an arm lock. You tap and we get up and we do another 5 rolls, another 10 rolls. We roll for an hour, right? You're developing that skill of isolating that arm. But what you're really doing in combat is not doing the arm. You're stomping on his head and or you're kicking him in the kidneys and obviously the spine. I wouldn't even play with kicking him in the spine, but I kind of kind of play footsie with this. So, we're gonna do this one, not the locked in one, because the locked in one is a different story. You're gonna reach your fingers in, you're gonna do your Tai Chi. You're gonna pivot away from them. So in other words, if it was the other arm, right, I'm gonna turn to this. You should feel a little bit of pressure on the shoulder. But just to be 100% sure, I don't rely upon that. I rely upon the will fall. And then again, I always make sure I hold on to the arm. Right? And then, you know, like example, if I am police, I can go into certain kinds of submission. Boy, does this look familiar to you? Mm-hmm. This stance. A big step and try to unbalance it and set up my previous sweep, right? But when we're doing it off of defense against the choke, we're not going to get that kind of space and orientation. So we have to have the shorter version of it, right? More of the combat one. And what happens is, you know, I'm stepping small, which means that I'm trying not to do it because it sucks, like especially if you do it with shoes. But the heel is literally rubbing his calf. That's why we say sometimes we call it guap, we call it a different name. Because that literally means calf straightening. It's like an agricultural thing, like when a cow steps on your leg, right? My mother is from a farm, so I know about some of this stuff. When a hoofed animal, we used to have horses and it's the same thing, steps on you, and that's what it is. In other words, I'm hoofing him, and it just takes him right out. Now, it's very hard to get that because you see how close I am. In other words, if we were here, to get gua would be hard. Because, you know, I'm like, stand still while I stand right next to you and get into the perfect position to throw you. But context is everything. When you're behind me and close to me and trying to choke me, once I turn, I'm right there. I don't have to set it up. And just like I said, this one's really good for free fighting, right? Or when you're separated. This one is really good for when you're being choked from behind, but the long one doesn't work. Does that make sense? Yes. Now, if someone locks in, you basically have to sink and shoulder throw. And we're going to do shoulder throw later today. So once you learn the mechanics of shoulder throw, it'll make sense what I'm saying.